Dear morally outraged internet, you're fucking retarded. You've been hustled, bamboozled, conned by a con artist who got you to bet your life savings on a shell game, and now you've got to go home and explain to the wife and kids why you're going to be living in a shitty apartment on the wrong side of town for the rest of your life. Congratulations. That is a stellar use of your time. Now, there's nothing I love more on a Thursday than finding out that you retards are frothing at the mouth over nothing once again. That is brilliant. That is another example of social justice working. Now, I'm a fan of Stephen Colbert. I've liked him for quite some time. I used to watch Strangers with Candy, and that was a fucking great show, and Stephen was very funny on it. He played a great character and really tied the show together. And I was equally happy to see him on The Daily Show as a field reporter. I thought he was a funny guy, and when he branched off from that to do the Colbert Report as the host, it made sense to me. I watched it for quite some time. I like his sense of humor, his style of delivery, his ability to get a joke across, and he played the role very well. He's a parody of a right-wing conservative pundit. And whether you're a conservative or not, you have to admit, he can be funny, and he can make a joke that will make you laugh, even if you don't agree with his point. So it's no wonder that he's so incredibly popular. But of course, there has to be a problem. There always is. And if there's not a real problem to be angry with, well, the internet will manufacture one to get upset about. And just what is that manufactured controversy today? Well, it would be this particular tweet. Now, I'm going to read this verbatim for you. This is what set off the firestorm of snowflakes, which you'd think is an oxymoron, but whatever. I'm willing to show Asian community I care by introducing the Ching Chong Ding Dong Foundation for Sensitivity to Orientals or whatever. That is just how insensitive. That is problematic. I'm sure there are children crying all over the country right now because that horrible tweet was let loose upon an innocent and naive populace. Now, sure, you could say, wait a minute. I read that Variety article where they said this is directly in relation to a show the night before. You know, the show featuring the Washington Redskins owner and his attempt to downplay the racial name of his team by setting up a fucking foundation for original Americans. That would be correct. Dan Snyder decided, hey, instead of addressing the Washington Redskins thing one way or the other, I'm just going to set up a Native American fucking foundation and call it Original Americans Foundation. Brilliant, Dan. That is brilliant. But of course, social justice warriors, well, they don't like to pay attention to things like context. That's spooky. You know, that requires higher level thinking. It's easier to get outraged over nothing. And so once the bullshit train left the fucking station, we've got a trending topic that's exploding all over the internet, and now you've got articles on USA Today and Variety, The Blaze, and everywhere else. I'm sure tomorrow you'll see Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson on CNN crying about racism, or you'll see an MSNBC host hanging themselves from a rafter because it's just too traumatic to deal with. I mean, the gall of this man to tell a joke relating to something that was on his show. How horrible to do that. What is he thinking? Using a hypothetical parallel between something he's talking about to show how absurd it is. What? No, of course comedians don't do that. Comedians don't make jokes. They need to be socially active and be on point all the time. Because there are victims out there who just want to cry. Now, of course, there are going to be the naysayers out there who will say, wait a second, what about this tweet? For the record, @Colbert Report is not controlled by Stephen Colbert or his show. He is Stephen at home. Sorry for the confusion. #cancel Colbert. I'm sorry, what? No. You can't stop being outraged when you find out that the person you're angry at didn't even make the tweet or their show. No, you just keep being pissed off. It would be too easy to be reasonable. Being angry just makes more sense. But it's not like social justice warriors get upset over nothing. Well, okay, maybe they do, but it's not alright, maybe it is every day. But they're kinda reasonable. You know, like a pit bull if you hit it with a stick. And of course, we're all used to them never investing time to give enough of a shit to look into the backstory of something. They just like getting angry. Somebody tells them, hey, look over here, it's racist. And they froth at the mouth and they run over there. Like little rabies-infested dogs. It's expected. But what exactly is directing them over there? After all, if somebody doesn't tumble this, they're never going to know. It's not like they watch TV or follow the news. That would take away from their precious time of blogging about what victims they are. No, somebody had to point them to it. And that would be our con artist. Now, you've all met Adria Richards, and you've all met Anita Sarkeesian. Well, I'd like to introduce you to the new thing. This is the hip thing. This is New Coke, motherfucker. And her name is Soy Park. I don't know if that soy is in soy sauce or suey, like chopped suey. I don't know. I'm just a racist white guy. I can't get names right. I don't check my fucking privilege. So to avoid confusion, I'm just going to call her P-Dog. Pizzizzle. Little P. Now this is her Twitter account. Look at the amount of followers she has. This is a famous woman. And she even has a Facebook. Take a look. 1,700 likes. Holy shit. I can't even count that fucking high. Now, little Pizzizzy here is the one that got everybody all up in arms. She helped to spur this on, to trend this topic, to get everybody talking about it. And why wouldn't she? She is a social justice warrior. She is a feminist. She is there to slap Steven's shit and say, hey, asshole, even though you didn't tweet this, I'm going to blame you for it anyway. And then I'm going to sick a bunch of people on you. But I'm sure she's reasonable. It's not like she's crazy or anything. I mean, it's not like if we look through her Facebook posts, we're going to find out she's bonkers. I mean, those stereotypes don't exist. It's not like she's going to use Tumblr language all over everything she posts. Like she's going to use the terms ableist and age. Oh shit, she did. Well, you know what? It's just one example. It's one example. Doesn't mean she's an extremist. I mean, after all, this is the person that started the original hashtag trending topic, not your Asian sidekick. If you remember the whole solidarity for white women thing, apparently Pizzizzy here was inspired by that, or encouraged by it, to kind of spur along her own thing about Asian Americans. Well, I think that's socially conscious. I mean, what a good person she individually must be to dedicate her free time to fighting for social justice. To do that for no profit at all alone, on your own? Pizzizzy, I am proud of you. Now, wait a second, what is it? I'm sorry, I think I overlooked something. What does that say? A post on her Facebook from March 12th. I've gotten some questions about where my personal Facebook account went. I deleted it to have more separation between my private and personal life, since I was getting too many inquiries and messages on my personal account. Please email me at bookings@sueypark.com. Message me on this page or leave a comment on the wall if you need anything. Wait a minute. Personal and professional life? Bookings? I'm confused. There must be a mistake here. Let me go look at that Twitter again to make sure. Yeah, that's directing me over here, and sure enough, it says bookings. Bookings. That makes it sound like it's professional. Like she does this for a living. Like she's a social justice warrior that gets, I don't know, hired to give speeches at colleges about gender issues, and maybe makes her financial gains based on issues she can talk about at those colleges. But I'm sure that's crazy. It's not like she's getting invited to be the keynote speaker at events. Oh wait, yes she is. Or that the whole not your Asian sidekick thing was something she spun into a media sensation to try to build a professional career around it. You know, as seen in this picture here that was featured in numerous articles about not your Asian sidekick that helped to spin her career into high gear and get her speaking engagements. Now maybe I'm being cynical and thinking that she's drawing out this Colbert thing to try to spur her career on even further, to get more speaking engagements, to get invited onto mainstream media. I mean, it's not like she's a hypocrite and we can't listen to anything she has to say. No, this is a girl with principles. I mean, look at this. ICYMI, Not Your Asian Sidekick, is a radical call to dismantle capitalism, the non-profit industrial complex, white supremacy, patriarchy, and ableism. It was not a call to celebrate the mainstream, but to instead forge a new path for women of color, feminism, decolonization, and the uprooting of anti-blackness. Unless we focus on building new streams, we will be wedged in as a sidekick. Well, listening to that, you would think that she does everything for non-profit. I mean, it would be hypocrisy for her to take money for speaking engagements, or to give interviews to mainstream media outlets like this one, and this one. Obviously, she doesn't do this for the mainstream. She does it because it's a passion, and she's shown herself to be so very reasonable. I mean, tell me this woman is not the Rosa Parks of getting upset at fucking comedy. People, 1, disagree with me, or 2, disagree with me but don't want to receive hate. Neither of these things are solidarity. Cancel Colbert. All of you saying you're doing it wrong to me need to take a seat. I do not get paid to educate my oppressors. Dear Stephen at home, your years of satire have failed when your fans send rape death threats to an Asian woman for criticizing your work. Soy Park is against the racial institution of marriage that enhances state power and violence. This is a reasonable person. I mean, look at this stance against hatred and bigotry. You're wrong because my feelings told me so. White men. And she is a stickler for the First Amendment, as seen here. Constitutional values were written by a white dude responsible for genocide who owned hundreds of slaves. Don't care. So very reasonable. Really, the reaction to cancel Colbert only proves my point. Racist, sexist jokes and my mentions to justify a racist joke. They're not mad at me for being racist. They're mad that I pointed out racism and ruined their innocent fun. This is how white entertainment operates. Just vicious outrage that something entertaining to them might be taken away. Well, she seems like a doll. Who wouldn't want to follow this person? And of course, she was so gracious when Stephen Colbert tweeted this back to her. I agree. Just saw @Colbert Report tweet. I share your rage. Who is that, though? I'm Stephen at home. Her response, very, very reasonable. Wait, how are you a comedian? That wasn't funny. I mean, once Stephen offered that apology, she immediately said, hey, let's back off for a second and rethink this. You can see that reaction right here. I'm not calling off Cancel Colbert until we get a real apology. Thank you, friends and allies, for sticking with me. We are still waiting. Clearly, P. Dizzle is a principled and honest, hard-working individual putting in all their free time and getting nothing out of this. Nothing at all. Only a racist, cishet white bigot who likes to lynch black people and rape children would ever question her, or her principles, or her reasonings for doing what she's doing. I mean, it's completely reasonable to still be upset even after you find out the person you're angry at wasn't responsible for what you're angry about. It's perfectly reasonable to still be upset when you find out the joke you were angry about was actually in promotion of stopping racism by relating to a story about somebody who was racist. Obviously, it is completely reasonable to still be upset even after the show's host, Stephen Colbert himself, tweeted you and offered an insight and said, that wasn't me, sorry about that. Well, Pizzazzle, I'm very proud of you, and I think we all are, for standing up against that fucking bigot, Stephen Colbert. You teach him a lesson. And remember, if you're interested in having Soy come speak at your campus or event, please email our team at bookings@soypark.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and happy holidays. Well, Merry fucking Christmas.